Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not going to do what you all think I'm going to do, which is ease out of the office I helped build. I'm sorry, but it's a fact that there is such a thing as manners. A way of treating people. I'm starting a new company. Who's coming with me?
This is your side, be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate for revenge will never stop us. This is your side, be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate for revenge will never stop us. You're the cancer, you can call me a sick assassin. Cut the chains, you can call me LeBron James. Make a decision, but you never had me in derision. Changing the vision, but more them that cause division. For real, never in submission like I need permission. Niggas steady telling lies like a politician. Nigga need to cool it down, but we the new edition. Yes, yeah, the name is the source. Check the reinvention. For real, you think we not prepared for the fallout? Watch us stack this information, watch us ball out. And the roster's fire make you pay attention. On a collegiate level with no contradiction. This is your side, be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. This is your side, be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. Get rid of animals so I can get rid of the fleas. So I leave, no longer in the den of thieves. My brother King Steph said he gon' ride forever. No matter what the problem, we gon' stick together. Parizzo told me he want more scholarships. So we trim the fat and kill the politics. You know Scholastic Bully set up with his head. Talk about it live on the show called Ratchet Craig. We still have Fred make the announcements. If you're showing any folly, then you bouncing. James Cassell kicking ass if you remember. Now you understand why he's the #1 contender. Be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. This is your side, be the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sickness to play the lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. Yeah. Yo, what's going on, family? Welcome to the Source. We are the Source Debate League, right? And we got a special presentation. One second, got some background noise here. We got a special presentation today from one of the brothers in the league, Brother Jashub. He's going to be doing a presentation on all ancient humans are black, right? We also have a panel here, and brothers, he has opened up the floor for open discussion. And for those that are watching, we're going to allow you to be able to interact and ask questions as well. So without further ado, man, I want to turn it over to my brother, Jashub.
Yeah, you already know what it is, man. 7 gang representing. I also want to say this is the beginning of the Sourced Up Click, man. I would like these videos to be a part of the Sourced Up Click. If you're from the South, you know about SUC. You know, you got the Screwed Up Click, we the Sourced Up Click. Because what we represent is sources. We bringing sources to the game. Just like the SUC changed the hip hop game, we trying to change the information game, the debate game. That's what we trying to change that whole atmosphere. You know what? To be honest, the Hebrews have a stigma on us. As a Hebrew, we have a stigma, and that is we have no information, that we're ignorant. We don't use sources. We don't cite material. But Scholastic Bully and my cohorts and the people that I work with, we are going to change that narrative, presentation by presentation, debate by debate, by providing material and showing y'all that we do research over here. Hebrews do scholarship. So that's what we're trying to bring here, man. So this is the introduction for the Sourced Up Click, and I hope I inspire brothers and sisters to do the same, right? So it's 7 games, 7 candlesticks up. It ain't a debate. It's a stick up. Y'all know the slogan, man. We say no debate interpretations and get thorough breakdowns. So I'm getting ready to share my screen for this prolific presentation. And all the brothers on the panel, anytime y'all have a question, commentary, you can open your mic and do so. So without no further ado, let's get right into it. All right. So it should be showing now. Can you see it?
Gotcha.
All right. So everybody can see my screen, correct?
Done.
All right. So I titled this Evidence of Black Empirical Data that suggests that all ancient humans were dark skinned. And empirical just means things that we can observe. We can physically observe and attest to its existence. So I'm going to give you evidence, man, literal evidence to show that all ancient humans were black, because some people are going around saying that Neanderthals were white, that these ancient archaic humans were pale skinned. And I'm going to show you with scientific data that ain't the case. That ain't the case. And if anybody on the panel want to chime in as I'm doing this, you're welcome to do so. So let's go into the first slide. I'm going to deal with Asia first, because when we see Asia now in the modern times, we think of the pale skin traits that they have, like the modern Chinese, modern Japanese, and surrounding places. But no one really deals with the Negritos. So we're going to dive into the Negritos as well. But before I even go into the Asians, we were talking before the show, and a light bulb went off when my brother Alvin brought up something. So I want to talk about Homo heidelbergensis, which is supposed to be the progenitor of modern humans and Neanderthals. And this is how they depict him. They depict him with dark skin. You want to know why? Because during that period, all humans and the progenitor of humans would have dark skin. This is an accurate depiction of the ancestor of not only Neanderthals, modern anatomically modern humans. All right. So, in the source for that is Ancestral DNA, Human Origins and Migrations by Rain J. Herrera. And the page number is 448, 449. So you can see humans started off dark. Humans started off black. Even the most ancient humans, because Homo heidelbergensis is one of the most ancient branches of the human species, right? So going to the next slide. Now let's deal with the black Asians. Like I said before, when many people think of Asians, they think of the modern Chinese and the modern Japanese, and they say, well, they have always been pale skinned. But that's not true according to genetics and genomic data. So it says the migration history of haplogroup DM174 is most mysterious. By the time we have known little about the origin and dispersal of this haplogroup was derived from the African haplogroup DEM1, which is the YAP insertion. And when you deal with YAP, anytime you look at genomic information or scientific papers about the YAP is the father haplogroup. Anything that comes out of the YAP is the daughter, right? Or the child haplogroup, right? So it says, and it is associated with a short black Asian physical style. Haplogroup E and D are brother haplogroups, while haplogroup E, which is usually representing the sub-Saharan Africans and East Africans and North Africans when we're dealing with haplogroup E. But you do have some in Europe. You do have some sprinkled in the Middle East. But for the most part, they're concentrated in sub-Saharan Africa, East Africa, and some places in North Africa, right? It says the haplogroup E and D are brothers. It says while haplogroup E was carried westward to the Africa by the tall black people, haplogroup D might have carried eastward to East Asia by the short black people. So what this is implying is that the first people to come into East Asia through human migration would have been, in fact, short black people. Why? Because as I will cover later in this presentation, you didn't even have the gene expression for pale skin during this time. That gene expression wasn't even expressed yet. That's why they depict Homo heidelbergensis as a black ancient human, right? So that covers the Asians. So let's keep going. So the next specimen we're going to deal with is Pecking Man. And when they discovered Pecking Man in East Asia or China, when they discovered him, there was a lot of controversy behind him because they knew he was the ancestor of the Chinese people, but they did not want to accept that he was the ancestor of the Chinese people for a very particular reason. And that has to do with colorism and white supremacy. And I'm going to go into it. So they discovered Pecking Man. It says, after the discovery of Pecking Man, and all my sources, real quick, all my sources are on the right of the screen. You can see on the right, it says source. Is Pecking Man still our ancestor? Race and national lineage on PMC by Ying Hong Chang. Published February 7th, 2019. So if I do not say the source, just look to the right of your screen and you will see the source being listed for you. So for the viewer, you can go and research on your own and study to show thyself approved. So anyway, back into the article, it says, after the discovery of Pecking Man, while some scholars were cautious to accept his ancestor status for various reasons, some were waiting for further scientific verifications, and others found Pecking Man's facial features looked like those of black slaves. Let me read that again. They found that Pecking Man's facial features looked like those of black slaves. So I'm going to jump out of the source real quick. These people did not want to accept that their ancestor was someone that would be considered black. That's the point. They did not want to accept that. The bones they were digging up out the ground resembled, quote unquote, black slaves. Then it says, rather than sagacious ancestors, because they were looking for people. When they dug into the ground, they were looking for a phenotype or looking for a morphology that would resemble modern Asians. But the modern Asians come from and mutate from these black Asians. And that's what I'm bringing out here from this source. It says, more enthusiastic nationalists, intellectuals, some associated with the nationalist government, believe that the discovery provided scientific evidence of the autochthonous provenance of the Chinese people. So the government themselves like, nope, we're not doing that. We got to keep it to the empirical data and show and prove that this guy is really autochthonous, meaning autochthonous means to be the original inhabitant of that land. So what is this article saying? This article is saying the first people to come into China were quote unquote black people, meaning they had dark skin. And they even looked at the Pecking Man and was like, wait a minute, he favored black slaves. He favored black slaves. It's going to be a common theme in this presentation. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And like I said, if any brother on the panel want to chime in while I'm doing this, feel free. So now we're going to move on to the Malaysian Negritos, are Austro-Asiatic speakers. So we're going to deal with these Negritos real quick, right? It says they inhabiting northern peninsular Malaysia, they practice the egalitarian and patrilineal descent system. Physically, they have a relatively small body, dark skin, distinct facial morphology. I mean, morphology is the form of the organism, all right? It says in wiry hair. Malaysian Negritos are often grouped with other Negrito communities, and several studies have provided genetic evidence that Andaman Islanders, Philippine Negritos, and Malaysian Negritos show some genetic affinity and similar phenotypes. These similarities have led to some evidence indicating that Negrito populations of SEA and Oceania are derived from the original migration as opposed to the Austronesian expansion. So what they're saying is that these phenotypes and the way they look and their morphology, that dark skin that they carry, is from the original migration. The first people to come to Malaysia, the first people to come to Polynesia, the first people to go into Australia, they look like them. They carried that dark skin trait. So what that lets you know about the ancient humans? They were dark. They had black skin. They were melanated people. It was a melanated population that went to East Asia. There was a melanated population that came into Malaysia, that came into Polynesia, that came into Australia. And these people that called the Negritos reflect upon that ancestry. So there's no question or no shadow of doubt that the original humans that came there and migrated were dark-skinned people, period, according to the empirical data and genetic analysis, right? And the source for that is Ancestral DNA, Human Origins and Migrations by Ranger Herrera, page number 342 and 344. All right, so we still in Asia. We still dealing with Asia. Now, I wanted to deal with this source because a lot of scientific information deals with anachronism. And what that means is out of time and out of place. So this document that I'm about to show you guys goes back to around the 2nd or 3rd century BCE. So they will say, well, these black people were in China 40,000 years ago. But I just want you to listen to what's going to come out from this archaeology, this bit of archaeology I'm about to share with you guys. It says the Qin ministers recall and contemplate the times of chaos when the regional lords apportioned the land, established their states, and thus unfolded the pattern of struggle. Attacks and campaigns were daily waged. They shed their blood in the open countryside. Now today, the August emperor has unified all under heaven into one family. Warfare will not arise again. Disaster and harm are exterminated and erased. Now, this is the point right here. This is the pertinent point that's going to bring it home. It says the black-headed people live in peace and stability. Benefits and blessings are lasting and enduring. Wait a minute. This is during the Qin dynasty. This is around the 2nd or 3rd century BCE. What is he talking about? His land has black-headed people in it. I thought, according to secular and conventional wisdom, these black people existed 40,000 years ago. But according to this, during the Qin dynasty, look up the Qin dynasty while we're watching this. Look up the Qin dynasty and see what the time period is. It's around the 3rd or 2nd century BCE. This place in China was inundated with black-headed people. So the source says the Messianic Emperor, a new look at Qin's place in China's history by Yuri Pines, page number 264, 265. So with this, we can deduce that they had black-headed people or the black people during this time period as well, because some people get skeptical every time you see black doesn't reflect skin. So what does it reflect then? Because I'm going to give you another piece of literature that uses this same cognomen, use this same nomenclature to describe its people. Let's move on. We're going to leave Asia. Let's go to the Middle East. Let's go to the Middle East. Let's deal with the Sumerians, right? When you look at the Sumerian literature, the nomenclature that we just read pertaining to the Qin dynasty, right? It's being used to describe the people. It's being used in the Sumerian literature before that even happened. So it says, after Anu, Enlil, Enki, and Nimhursag had fashioned the black-headed people. So these gods in the Sumerian literature were attributed and they were said to have created and formed the human race, the people. And when they created and formed these people, they named them, they called them the black-headed people. I wonder why. Maybe because they were black. Maybe because they had dark skin. That's why I use scientific data and literature and see where they converge. The scientific data that says the early humans were black, the ancestral records say the early humans were black. They're just using euhemerism, which is using a myth to reflect or recapitulate human history or a real historical event. They're saying Anu and Enlil and Enki formed these men, but the point that I want to bring from this source is they named them the black-headed people. And the source for that is Sumerian epic of paradise, the flood, and the fall of man. Come on, we're not off this black-headed thing yet. So for any skeptics out there, anybody watching skeptical about black-headed and what it means, they use the word blackhead to denote the mankind, all humans. In the Sumer and Babylonian text, when you see the word black-headed, it usually refers to the inhabitants of Sumer and Babylon in the present context. However, it seems to refer to mankind as a whole. They thought all of mankind was black-headed. I wonder why they came to that conclusion. It seems like the scientific data and what these ancient men were saying is converging. There's a point of convergence. It seems like they agree with each other because this document is saying the early man was black. I read the scientific data that states that Heidelbergensis is black, which is the progenitor of modern anatomically humans, right? And also Neanderthals, right? And they were black. So it's an agreement. It's perfect harmony, if you ask me. If you take away all of the opinions and take away all the hypotheses and you look at the raw data, just look at the data itself and look what it's saying and what it's showing and demonstrating, you can see that this is a complete match with what we're finding in the ground. This is a complete match in paleontology. We're not talking about what they infer. We're talking about what they actually find and what they actually study. So the source for that is ancient Near Eastern texts relate to the Old Testament and supplement literature, I believe. James Pritchard, page number LXX, which would be 70. All right, I'm moving on, man. Do you brothers want to add anything or say anything or what? Or you want me to keep going? Let me know. Let me know. If not, I'll keep going.
Keep flowing, I keep flowing.
All right, so still on the blackheads, right? It says, Father Enlil, shepherd of the blackheads. And that's from the hymn to Enlil as ruling deity of the universe. Blackheads is an epithet of the Sumerians from at least the time of the 3rd dynasty of Ur. So this is going back to the Bronze Age. This is going back 25th, 24th century BCE. And they refer to the people as the blackheads. And the source is ancient Near Eastern texts related to the Old Testament. James Pritchard, page number 426. So if anybody's skeptical about this, explain why you're skeptical. Why would you think this will be anything other than what we see? Because again, I'm marrying the idea that's being found in paleontology that the earliest humans were black. And I'm marrying that idea with what the Sumerians thought of the earlier humans. And I believe it's harmonious. I believe that they synchronize perfectly. They're both saying the same thing. So, I mean, if anybody's skeptical or anything, let me know. We can talk about it. But this seems to be clear as water, man. So let's move on. Now, let's deal with the Natufians. We still in the Middle East. We still in the middle of the earth, man. Don't worry. We ain't left yet. We ain't got on the plane. We ain't purchased a ticket and departed yet. We still going to be here for a minute. Just bear with me. It says there is evidence that some 7,000 or 8,000 years ago, a black Negroid race inhabited Palestine. So all you brothers that say the white man land is Palestine and you claiming a white man's lineage, if you follow the Bible or you claim to be a Jew, you claim to be an Israelite, then you must be following the pale skinned man because we all know it's white people there and you just want to be like, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And you don't know genetics, you don't know genomic data, you don't know paleontology, you don't deal with archaeology, and you don't deal with anthropology. Because the simple fact is, if you dealt with those fields, you would not make those claims. If you studied in those fields, you would not make those claims. So again, there's evidence that some 7,000, 8,000 years ago, a black Negroid race inhabited Palestine. After the scientists failed to prove them other than the descendants of people who had migrated from Africa, they immediately classified these black Palestinians as cannibals who devoured their enemies and burned the bones of their dead after burial. Like we read earlier, what these scientists would do, because they have white supremacy in their mind, they have these racial views and these colorist views in their mind that at this time, because this is in the early 1900s, that black people were savages, black people are the lowest evolved or the least evolved of the human race. They had these ideals in their mind. So when they found these bones, when they made these discoveries in the field of paleontology, they could not accept it. They had to demonize the information. Like we read earlier with the Chinese, they saw Pecking Man and they said, he looks like a black slave. How could we come from black people? So they looked at the information, they saw the bones, and they're like, something's got to be wrong. Something's got to be off. Why? Because in their mind, they've been taught and ingrained for hundreds of years that we are superior, we are the first, we're the alphas, and all that. But what happened is the empirical data started to push against colorism, push against these racial thoughts and teachings that were being circulated by Darwin, that was being circulated before him by Blumenbach, the father of the races. He's the one who came up with the racial system. Negroid, Africoid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid. He's the one who came up with that. Now we left that as antiquated, right? But these racial ideas was within the scientific community at this time, and they were trying to demonize that they found Negroid bones representing the early Palestinians. Reading on. Traces of these early men were found as the result of excavations at Shukna, near Jerusalem in 1928, and later in the caves of Mount Carmel. Due to the fact that these Africans constituted such a puzzling find, the excavators assigned the name of Natufians, and they remain to this day the greatest riddle in archaeology. And the source for that is Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson, page number 2425. Now, moving on to the next slide. So it says, same book, same source. It says, even Sir Arthur Keith agrees that they are clearly Negroid. What is he talking about? The bones of the Natufians. Decidedly prognathous with wide faces, flat noses, and long, large heads. Sir Arthur goes on to say that these early Palestinian blacks may have been the ancestors. Listen to this. Listen to this. For all you people that think we fall in the white man lineage, we fall in the white man's everything. Oh, the Middle East is dealing with the white man. Palestine dealing with the white man. Everything above Africa and out of Africa is the white man. According to y'all, we already read the Asians are not, the early Asians are black. We already read that the progenitor of humans, period, is black. And now we're reading the progenitor of the Palestinians was black. And this is what Sir Arthur Keith came to the conclusion. He said, the Palestinian blacks may have been the ancestors of the Semites or Arabs of biblical times. So when we deal with Shem, and I didn't put this in the presentation, but the Perky de Eleazar, right, which is the Midrashic writing. Anybody can look this up on Sepharia.org, SEFARIA.org. You can get all of the Midrashic texts, all of the Talmudic texts, right at your fingertips. If you type in the Perky de Eleazar, and I believe it's the 9th chapter of it. It might be the 24th. I might be off on that. It says that the sons of Shem were black and comely. So we would expect to find bones to reflect that information. So again, I'm marrying these two ideas together. I'm showing you where scientific data and what our ancestors wrote converge. For all you anti-science brothers out there. Oh, you fall in the white man's science. I'm showing you that both these ideas coexist. They work together. They're compatible. So if you read that, it tells you that Shem was black and comely, right? But anyway, he posits that the Palestinian blacks may have been the ancestors of Semites or Arabs of biblical times. So back on Nick Cannon, when he made that statement, how could he be anti-Semitic when the original Semites were dark-skinned black people? And that's what he's trying to represent. Little sidebar. It says they also show a definite resemblance to the late Stone Age men of Malta and to the remoter men of Southern Europe. So it seems like the farther you go back in time, the darker the populations get. The further you get back in time, the darker the populations get. It's the point of the presentation. And again, the source for that is what we read earlier. Same source, the Introduction to African Civilizations, John G. Jackson, page number 2425. It is safe to say that the Natufians were living when the first city-states of Sumeria arose. So this is tying back to what I read earlier. When it said that Enlil and those other gods made the black-headed people, maybe it's referring to them Natufians or the descendants of those Natufians. You ever thought about that? Dark-skinned person here. These people are said to be the ancestors of this land and the people of that land at that time. So why can't we draw that conclusion? It's in the literature. It's in the scientific data and the scientific findings. I'm marrying the ideas. I'm merging them together. That's what I'm doing here. So in the same source, I just read that. You can see it on the right side of the stream for the people watching on YouTube and Facebook. Write these sources down. Do your own research. Study to show thyself and prove. All right. So now we got on a plane. We go on to Europe now. That's fly from the Middle East. That's leave the Levant. That's leave Sumeria. And that's go to Europe, man. So I want everybody right now, go online, book your ticket, and ride along, man. So it says the earliest Irish would have been the same as Cheddar Man and would have had darker skin than we have today, Bradley said. I know a lot of y'all think that Europeans were always white. Yeah, I know a lot of y'all deal with that climatic theory as well because they went into higher altitudes that made them white. That's not true. That's not true because you had these black people in Ireland during the Epipaleolithic and Paleolithic period for thousands of years, and they were still black. Explain that, somebody. The source is the first Irish population had dark skin similar to Cheddar Man. DNA research suggests. Haley Haplin is the author of that article, and it was published February 8th, 2018. Let's deal with Cheddar Man. Cheddar Man, here's Cheddar Man's reconstruction, a modern depiction based off genomic data, and they came to the conclusion that he would have been a dark-skinned male, right? And so everybody can see on the screen, this is how they visualize him and bring him to life with the data that they have available, because they found skeletal remains and they got DNA extracted from the, I believe, the ear, and they came to the conclusion that this man would look something like what you see on your screen, dark-skinned man. Moving on. So, Professor Chris Stringer, the museum's research leader in human origins, said, I've been studying the skeleton of Cheddar Man for about 40 years. So to come face to face with what this guy could have looked like, and that the striking combination of hair, the face, the eye color, and that dark skin, again, these early humans were all dark skinned. That's the point. Something a few years ago we couldn't have imagined, and yet that's what the scientific data showed. Why? Because a few years ago you had a bunch of nuts running around saying that all these people are white. You understand? Because that stemmed from what? Colorism and scientific racism. That's what that stemmed from. Because the bones are staring them dead in the face. They were digging this stuff out of the ground. It was staring them dead in the face, and they didn't want to accept what they were finding. This man studied it.
Let me ask you a question, bro. Because
ahead,
there's a thing that they say, right? They try to separate the sons of Noah into different categories of race, right? And then they also use the climate theory, where the climate, since the people, everybody came out of Africa, and the further they started to move northward, due to the climate, that it affected their skin color. What would you say in response to that?
That's not true at all, because Cheddar Man's population was living in Europe for thousands of years. And that change, they say that change is supposed to happen every 500 to 700 years. Why they didn't change white? Why was they able to find these bones and all the population in Ireland and where Cheddar Man's from, Britain? Why are they all dark skinned? Why? They should have been all white. So that's my response to that. There's no way in the world, just because you move into a higher altitude. The Incas live in a higher altitude. They didn't turn white. You understand? And you got people that live in northern regions for thousands of years. They ain't turned white. The Abkhazian Negroes.
Maybe they just found the original people that moved there before the coloration before it started affecting their color. Could that be a possibility?
Well, if that's the possibility, then it should be like that all over the earth. If you look up the Abkhazian Negroes, they live in frigid areas, high altitude areas, where they get low amounts of UV and all that stuff. And they're still black, and they've been there thousands of years. We know they've been there thousands of years because Herodotus wrote of these people. He wrote of them in the BCE period, around 4th century BCE. He wrote of these black, woolly-haired people living in modern-day Russia, Abkhazia, right? They're in the Caucasus region around there. And to this day, we have their descendants still there. They still black. Why didn't he mutate, turn to white skin, and have pale skin? So that would be my answer in response to that. It's not that climactic thing is dead.
When I read the off the coast of the 13th tribe, it talks about the original people of Khazari, which is in the Caucasus area region, and it classified them. This is not even BC time. This AD time, right about 500, in between 3 and 500, and he classified these original people that's in in that particular climate, northward climate, and they're classifying them as being black as well.
Right. Let me deviate from this and go to my book. I'm gonna go to my book. This is not gonna be on the screen. I apologize. This is on the fly. We want to have an organic conversation. Let me see if I find it. I got a book right here.
Hey, Jashub, while you going to that book real quick, I want to say, I don't know if you have this in the presentation, so stop me if I start talking about something that's in your presentation to come. But we actually have evidence of the gene that causes the mutation for them to become white when it came into the region and everything. So I wouldn't.
Oh wow!
I don't think the climate thing fits because it's well after.
Right. From the Yumya people. Right.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So, if open my camera real quick. Let me turn my camera on. Stop sharing my screen so I can show the people my book. Can you show my camera so everybody can see this book? Right. It's Russia and the Negro. Right. And we're gonna go to page. We're going to go to page 10. So in page 10, it says, half a century later, this same line of investigation was pursued even more intensely in the article by Patrick English in the Journal of Near Eastern Studies, also beginning with Herodotus and other classical writers. English marshals an impressive array of contemporary scholarly data to support the plausibility of the hypothesis that Abkhazian Negroes' lineage may extend back to the ancient times in the Black Sea region. It says he notes, for example, Herodotus' close attention to detail in distinguishing between Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Colchians, and observing that the Colchians wove linen like the Egyptians and like no one else. As a major argument, all right, that's all I want on that. That's all I want on that. I don't want to go into any more of it, but y'all can see right here the highlighted portion. Anybody think I'm bull jiving? We bring sources. This ain't in my presentation, but can y'all see that?
Yeah, we gotta watch you, man, because you've been accused of
I've been accused of fraud. I've been accused of fraud about people that teach silly doctrines about Shem and Ham and all kind of crazy madness. But can you see that? But I'm the fraud. Look at that.
Yeah,
I just want that. I want that on the camera, man. You see that? All right.
Yeah.
Share my screen. Put the screen share back on. I got to do it? Do I have to do it again? Is that me?
Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah, that's you.
All right. So back to the we deviated to deal with the climatic theory, meaning it matters where you live, and that'll make you pale skin. That's not true. We got people living in Russia. We got people living in the north. We got people living in these different regions, and they haven't changed color yet. So got to explain that. But anyway, let's move on to the next slide. All right. So they found back on Cheddar Man. So we're back on Cheddar Man. So it says they found the Stone Age Briton had dark hair with a small probability that it was curlier than average. Blue eyes and skin that was probably dark brown or black in tone. This combination might appear striking to us today, but it was a common appearance in Western Europe during this period. So again, the whole population was black. It's not just one person. The whole population is common appearance. This is, if you jumped in a time machine and went back to the Mesolithic and Paleolithic periods, Stone Age period, and you were able to visually see these people, you would see a sea of dark people living in these areas. That would be common. That would be the common thing to see. These black, early Paleo Europeans. It says Cheddar Man's genome reveals he was closely related to other Mesolithic individuals, so-called Western hunter-gatherers, who have been analyzed from Spain, Luxembourg, and Hungary. So that's how they know they all had a common appearance, because his DNA genomes line up with all of the rest of the findings that they have found in those areas. And the source is Cheddar Man. DNA shows early Briton had dark skin. BBC News, Paul Rincon, and that was published February 23rd, 2018. All right, last stretch. I want to go to Paleo America now. Early America. Because you got a group of, let me be nice about this. You got a group of Israelites.
Before you make that transition, got somebody in the comments section that want to say something to you.
Okay, go ahead.
They say, Jashub, all humans can't be all black. When were, I guess you're trying to say, when they're all from different start systems to settle here, naturally evolving prehistoric humans of the Stone Age, when genetically modified with other DNA to create other creations, such as the Yeti and other creatures.
The what now? That sounds like some magical, fanciful stuff. We're dealing with scientific data here. We're not dealing with fairy tales. So what is he talking about?
That's your boy with the book. He's in seven branches academy.
Yeah, we're dealing with empirical.
So I wanted to share that with y'all because I mean, we're not running from anything here.
Right. Yeah, that's my response to that. That sounds like, can you give us a primary source, what he's talking about? Because we're dealing with empirical data. Remember, empirical means what we can physically observe, something that we can verify physically. So if he's dealing with anything else, then it goes in the realm of magic. And we're here to actually educate our people, not, indoctrinate them. So that's my response to him. But anyway, we're getting on the plane. We're going to America now. We're going to ancient America. So, because you got a group of people claiming to be Israelites saying that the skin that they have represents the early Americans for some reason. I don't know why. You got to go ask them. I don't know. I'm not them. You got a group of brothers that's doing that. So let's go to Paleo America real quick. It says Paleo Americans are classified phenotypically as African, Australian, or Melanesian based on multivariate methods and quantitative analysis. This grouping should only be sub-Saharan African and Australian populations because Melanesian and sub-Saharan Africans share the same craniometric measurements. So he's using morphology. Remember the form and how the shape and form of the organism is. That's what morphology deals with, how something is formed and shaped. It says the craniometrics illustrate that Paleo Indians belong to the black variety, but they do not allow us to establish conclusively where the Paleo Americans originated, because you also have to use DNA for that. But he's just going off of how they look, how the skulls and the skeletal remains look, and just going off of that, they have the same craniometrics as sub-Saharan Africans, Australian populations, and Melanesian populations, which will mean if you went in a time machine and jumped back and saw these early Americans, most likely they would look like Cheddar Man's population. They would look black. They would have dark skin. They look like the early Asians. They would look like the early Sumerians, the early Levantine and Palestinian blacks, the Natufians. They will all have that same, at least in common, that dark skin. They will all share it. So what am I showing you? All these groups across the world, even in Europe, all the way to America, were all black. They were all dark skinned. Because I know you guys run with that word black and say it's only talking about West Africans. No, when I say black, I'm talking about, is there color? Is there pigment in your skin? Is it brown to dark or black pigment in your skin? That's all I'm saying. Anything else is just ambiguity, and it's also hogwash point of views. I'm dealing with the rudimentary level of this thing, right? So the source for that is the Paleo Americans Came from Africa by Clyde Winters, September 2015. All right. I missed the slide. I just wanted to show the audience what Melanesians would look like. There you go. Melanesians. 2 black children, 2 dark-skinned children with blonde hair in Melanesia. So if I had to take a guess, if I went into a time machine and went to ancient America, I would expect to see populations that would look sort of like the Australoids, Malaysians, something of that nature, right? All right, so continuing on, the determination of the Paleo Americans as members of the black variety is not a new phenomenon. Howells in 1973, 1989, and 1995, using multivariate analysis, determined that the Easter Island populations was characterized as Australo-Melanesian. And I want to ask something real quick. Is my mic coming through clear?
Yeah, it's coming through loud and clear. I wanted to ask a question before you move on from the comment section. It says, I guess they're asking, Brother G-Con is asking, what was their diet? Because there's a theory that also diet affects the skin color of a people. What would be your response to that?
My response is the diet has nothing to do with it, because the people that first get pale skin, and I don't have this in my article, but you can look this up. The first people to have pale skin in the Mesolithic, the Middle Stone Age period in Europe, they could even digest milk. They couldn't ingest milk. They were lactose intolerant. So white skin prevails, or it pre-exists being able to digest milk. So how can milk be the reason for white skin if being able to consume it exists after white skin begins to show up and proliferate Europe? That's my response to that. That's how we know milk and dairy products, cow milk, is not the reason people have white skin.
Yeah, some of them say a high intake of vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Right. Yeah, so that's what the theory they have is, that they got that vitamin D from drinking cow's milk. That's the theory. But the problem is, Cheddar Man could not digest milk. He was lactose intolerant. The early Europeans could not digest milk. So if they can't digest milk, how they're going to consume it and get the vitamin D that he's talking about and turn white? That's the problem with that theory. And the first people to have white skin, the people from the Yamnamya people, right, from the Eurasian steppes, they had white skin and brought it into Europe, and they couldn't even digest milk. So if they can't digest it, Jeremiah, how is that the mechanism or the source of white skin? Come on now.
Right. Yeah, I want to touch and tackle some of these theories, because brothers be throwing this out in the midst of discussions like they have valid points. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I want the brothers and sisters that are watching, so they'll be prepared when they're in the midst of a discussion with somebody who's using the weather theory and also the diet theory affecting skin color.
Right. That's skin. That gene came in through a mutation. That's the best way to say it. A mutation is an error in your genetic code. It was an error that came through a certain people and it spread throughout the earth. That's the best way to explain it. When you start going into diets and climate, there's a plethora of evidence that proves that those theories are wrong and antiquated. They outdated. You know what I'm saying? So is there anything else from the comments, or can I keep going? I'm almost done.
Yeah, no, I'm if anyone watching, you have something you want to have any questions. We dealing with all questions here. So go ahead, Jashub.
All right, so back to the Paleo America and their skulls and their skeletal remains reflecting and looking like what we would call sub-Saharan African, Melanesian, and Australoid people. Now, we're not talking about DNA. We're not saying they got DNA from sub-Saharan Africa. We're saying just looking at the morphology and looking at the skeletal remains, that's who they resemble. So again, I'm going to read it from the top. It said the determination of the Paleo Americans as members of the black variety is not a new phenomenon. Howells in 1973, 1989, and 1995, using multivariate analysis, determined that the Eastern Island population was characterized as Australo-Malaysian, while other skeletons from South America were found to be related to Africans and Australians. The African Australo-Malaysian morphology was widespread in North and South America. So this is not rare in Paleo America. It would be, again, like Cheddar Man's population, the common appearance. You would see this all the time if you went in a time machine and traveled from North to South America, from Peru to North, back up to the North, back to Alaska. You would see these different phenotypes being expressed, which would all have what in common? Having dark, black skin. It says, for example, skeletal remains belonging to black variety have been found in Brazil. And the source for that is the Paleo Americans Came from Africa by Clyde Winters, September 2015, when that was published. All right, moving on. So we're going to reflect this ancestry again. We're going to give you visuals so you can see it. So a book was written by Jack D. Forbes called The Africans and Native Americans, The Language of Race and Evolution of Red Black People. And the thing about this book, if you look at the cover of it, you know where that photo's from? That photo is from the museum in Lima, Peru. And it's just depicting these Peruvian kings and Peruvian royals as dark-skinned people. So I found that very interesting. So you still see a variation of dark skin and light-skinned Native Indians to this day. But the thing is, every time you see a dark-skinned one, what do you guys say? Oh, he's a descendant of a slave. He came from the slave trade. But dark skin always existed in America. I just showed you that. It always was in Paleo America from the beginning. The oldest skeletal remains showed this morphology and showed they had dark skin and they looked like Melanesian, Australian, and sub-African people, sub-Saharan African people. To the right, there's another picture of basically a succession of kings from Peru, all depicted as dark people, all depicted as melanated, dark-skinned people. So that's very interesting because you got this narrative that every time you see black skin in America, when you see the Mosquito Indians, the Indians of northwestern Mexico, the Khalifa Indians, the Indians in Western America, the Indians in South America, when you see these different dark groups, the first thing that you say is, oh, they're a result of an amalgamation of slaves, or they descend from slaves. Y'all got black inferiority all in y'all brain, man. That's what that come from. You got it all in your mind and all in your brain because you think the only way these people can be black if they descended from a slave. But it's fine. The scholastic bully is here for you. I'm here to get that out your brain, man. Let's keep going. All right. So the scientists have used the skulls of the skeletons to reconstruct the face of the Paleo Americans. The skull of these Paleo Americans are of Native American females. The scientists gave the names of the Pecking woman, Lucia, and Naya. The Paleo Americans are ethnically different from contemporary Native Americans. All of the Paleo Americans have been classified as part of the black variety. This includes Naya and the Pecking woman of Mexico and Lucia of Brazil. The craniometric measurements of the Paleo American skeletons fall within the black variety of Homo sapiens sapiens, African, Australian, and the Malaysian phenotypic range. That's how they would look. It says the craniometric measurements of the Paleo Indians match the multivariate standard deviations of these three populations. And the source, the Paleo Americans Came from Africa by Clyde Winters again. So that's the Andamanese people. These people will look something similar to these people that we see today of the Andaman Islands. There's another similitude here, the Mosquito Indians. They could reflect ancient Paleo American morphology. When you see these Mosquito Indians living in Honduras and living in the Circum-Caribbean, what you going to say? They came from slaves. They came from slaves. Bro, they had this same genes, this same look thousands of years ago. Everybody you see black in America don't come from slaves. Cut that out, man.
Yeah, man. Let me say this too real quick, man, because
Go ahead.
they through white supremacy, they have convinced the world that the world's population is of a lighter pigmentation, but truly the earth is the earth of color, and they are the minority according to the world landscape.
Right. That's a fact, man. That's a fact. All right, this is my last slide, and I'm going to close it out. We can open up the panel. We can discuss anything you brothers want to discuss about this. But I just want to say this because a lot of people think, oh, there had to be more than just dark-skinned people in the beginning, because where do white people come from? That's the question. That's the question always that arrives. They had to come from a separate group of people, but wait a minute. The genes to bring forth white skin is in dark-skinned people. I'm going to say it again. The genes to bring forth that pale skin into fruition is within dark-skinned populations. So it's clear that it came from those dark-skinned populations, and I touched on this on my first debate in the tournament against another brother. I'm just going to say that. And I brought it out in more detail. So go watch that, my first round, to get a more detailed explanation on that. But those genes are...
Brother, real quick, if you go back in this video, brother, you will see that he dealt with the color of the Neanderthals, and yes, they were black. All right,
Okay, all right. So it says frequency display strong population differentiation with the derived light skin pigmentation allele A11T, fixed or nearly so in all European population. In the ancestral, what does ancestral mean? I mean, it existed first. The ancestral allele, the gene that makes pale skin, is found where? It says in the ancestral allele is predominant in sub-Saharan Africa and East Asia. So yes, black people can bring white people into fruition.
Right.
For all you people saying, how can Esau be? I'm going to go into that real quick, but I ain't going to get on that. How can Esau come from black people? How can he do that? How can two black people bring, all that ignorant stuff? Well, the gene is there. It just has to express. So with that, I'm going to give you the source: molecular phylogeography of human autosomal skin color locus under natural selection. PMC is where you can find it. Victor A. Kunfield et al. Et al. Means in others, right? Did the work. They wrote the paper, came up with the analysis, and it was published November the 3rd, 2013. That concludes my presentation today on the source. Man, we sourced up Click. You can see that we sourced up Click. This was 26 slides of pure information. That's what I'm saying. It's either source up or shut up. That's what we're about here. We're about teaching and formulating these things with sources, citations, with information that you brothers and sisters at home can go back and study. So that's the end of it, man. That's the end of my presentation. We can open up the panel, talk about it.
Powerful.
All praises due to the Most High.
Well, let me say this, man. I heard a guy say that, because you say you're gonna touch on this too. I heard a guy say that if Isaac is black and you are what your father is, don't that make Esau black?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. They don't understand. They don't understand it.
That word black is very deceptive. Go ahead, bro.
Well, he doesn't understand that humans broke off from each other. So each race that you see on the planet, if you believe in the Bible, all races come from Adam anyway.
Right.
So each race you see on the planet is a splinter group that left the original autochthonous populations. So you got, like I brought out in this, this whole entire presentation, I showed you the ancestor of the Chinese. They said the ancestor of the Chinese looked like black slaves. I showed you that. Right. But if you look at their progeny and the people that came after them, they're pale skinned. So it's possible to come from somebody that's dark and end up light. That was my point of my last slide. The genes to create white people is found with the ancestral allele is predominant in sub-Saharan Africa and East Asia. So that
Okay,
answers that question.
let me ask this, and I want the panel to chime in here on this one too. There's a couple of books like Common Sense by Thomas Paine, The Theory of Evolution. These theories, right? They say that due to the process of elimination, such as certain genes or the evolval of genes or the evolution of genes, gets you to a greater specimen. So, what would any of you brothers' response be to the theory of the recessive gene claim that the so-called pale skin have, the recessive gene? Are those recessive genes, or is that a result of evolution and those genes becoming stronger? What would any of your brothers' response be to
If I may, if any brother
Go ahead.
that?
No, I was gonna say what it's a product of is a product of several factors. Well, not really several. It's different genes coming together to create the expression. So like okay, when he brought up the original inhabitants of Europe, they had the HERCA2 gene, but they didn't have the LC248 gene or the AOC2. I think that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Or the LC, because you got the LC248 gene, then you got the LC45 gene. You see what I'm saying? So the original Europeans, they only had the HERCA2 gene. But when you get all three of those genes together, separate, it's based upon the genetics right now. Separate, they don't create that white skin. But when
Yeah,
they come together, is when you get the expression. That's why you can have the gene and the steps, but you don't see the expression. You see what I'm saying? This is what me and another brother was going back and forth on the difference between having a gene and the expression of a gene. So uh, you see these the ones in the steps, they had this gene. Then the people up that was already there had this gene. The people in the southern Europe and the Luxembourg and Germany that had dark skin had this gene. When all three of those genes converge and come together, now you have the expression where we will see white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Okay, let me go ahead and chime in. I'm gonna answer Jeremiah question first, and then I'm gonna give my take on the presentation. As far as I don't believe in macroevolution. I don't believe that we have any evidence that shows that new genetic information can be gained by an organism to move it up towards that pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of a intelligent design person myself, because all the evidence shows that we speciate. We don't move towards one species that would be greater than the rest, and then it kills off the rest. That doesn't seem to be what we're doing.
yeah,
As for the presentation, I would say that I just wish he would have added the corded wear culture and connected it to the Scandinavian battle axe culture, and really drove in the fact that this, I guess, the last piece of the puzzle, like my brother D Red was saying, it was the multiple genes coming together, brought that last piece of the puzzle into the area, wiped out the males, took all the women, and those that did survive got pushed out towards Siberia and places like that. I wish he just would have went into to at least showing that migration of that gene coming in and causing that mutation to take place.
Uh-oh, we got your number one fan in the building. Shout out to Black Jesus Minister.
Hey,
Black Jesus
Jane,
Minister he says, Scooby Dooby Doo Jashub, the scholastic fraud, all skin origins is African. You self-hating and you are a descendant of slaves. So,
I want to respond to
Clown.
I want to
right,
respond to
right,
something.
right, right, clown.
Yeah, right. I want to respond to that. I don't watch any of that guy's material, so I wouldn't be on his live to be able to comment. That's one. Secondly, there's a big difference in separation between the way I teach and present information and how this guy teaches and present information. Just watch today's video and go to his YouTube channel, whatever it may be called. I'm not going to even name it. You're not going to get a shout out on here. You average 13 views a video. Stop it. Anyway, to address somewhat of what he said, what does that have to do with the presentation I said today? My presentation was to point out that all races on the planet of Earth go back to a dark population. That's it. So everything he just said was hogwash point of views, it was propaganda, and it was inundated in hatred. That's it. That's all I got to say to it, Jeremiah.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I'm with you because I don't believe in out of Africa theory either. You understand? I believe that Mesopotamia, uh, ancient Babylon, the ancient Mesopotamian areas where uh, life originated from, and then there was a migration to different regions of the earth um, as the earth population continued to grow. And even when you're looking at ancient civilizations in Africa, what would you brothers say in response to the claim of the Pygmy Twa people actually being the original humans on
Well,
the planet?
well, if I may add, me and James, he got me on. James got me right on that, right? James understands, and like as myself, I understand now that the most ancient DNA you're going to find on this planet comes from sub-Saharan Africans, right? So what he's dealing with is the Khoisan. Basically, he's dealing with the Khoisan theory, where the oldest people come from the Khoisan. But the new scientific findings really state that the West Africans carry that ancient ancestral gene. So he would be wrong in that, from my understanding and from what I came across. Another thing is he's going around calling me a fraud, but he's going around teaching that the Pygmy Twa people were responsible for the Bible. I don't even know how you even come to that conclusion. What material evidence do you have to prove that? See, these people that try to throw salt at the scholastic bully, look at what they're teaching. So there's a saying, Jeremiah, it's easy to say someone has a rotten egg, but it's harder to lay one yourself. So when you look at their information and what they provide, what are they bringing? What are they teaching? You're teaching pseudo information.
Well, I know one of the theories. One of the theories is that the Pygmy Twa people have a creation story. They have a flood story. So they're saying since they are, according to them, the most ancient people on the planet, then the Bible had to come from them.
That don't make any sense. First of all, just because someone's the most ancient people doesn't mean they pinned down the Bible or gave the story of the Bible. That doesn't make any sense. Can these people read? Is there any material evidence to back up what he's saying? Material will be writings. Material will be pottery shards. That's what I mean by material. So that's what I'm saying. There's a separation between me and that guy and that clown that's in the comments right now. He doesn't do that.
And I would say that also that the pygmies had a mutation. They don't know what it was, but it is a fairly recent in human history mutation. I want to say it's within the last 3 to 4 thousand years, which caused them to somehow stunt their growth. They're saying that it may have been from hunger, malnutrition. They're coming up with theories why, but that's a recent thing. And the Khoisan are the oldest people, as
Right,
Jashub said, not the
right,
Pygmy Twa. But well,
right.
that was the theory. But now with the new evidence that's come out in the last about 3 years or so, they're saying no, they find a ghost population DNA in us that even predates the split that they're hypothesized split of the Neanderthal from us. So it's that old that runs through our blood, and that's far older than the Khoisan.
Right,
Okay,
right. So that's dead. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to talk about on that, bro. It's dead. He has to produce material evidence, not theoretical evidence. Material evidence that proves that those people wrote the Bible. If you want to fact check something, fact check your own stuff first. Let's do that, man. Let's make the Black Jesus Minister fact checking challenge today. I issue that challenge. Fact check your own teachings, man. Go ahead, Jeremiah. My bad.
that's all right. Got some I don't know if there are questions or comments from the comment section in the watch party.
Yeah, LaRon having a conniption back there, man.
Yeah, I can't. Let me see if I see any more of his. I don't know if he made a comment or any statements or if he had any questions. Black Jesus Minister kind of took over the chat a little bit.
You know
So
how he do, man. You gotta
yeah,
have all the attention on him. The number
yeah,
one
But I,
Israelite teacher on the planet, he said.
right. Shout out to
but
the elder, man. You know what I'm
but I
saying?
think that I think LeBron is gonna probably be on some dark skin, don't make you African type shit.
Well, no one said that. That's off topic. Did I ever say that everyone that has dark skin is African? No. My point is, the early populations were all dark skinned. If you go anywhere else, like you didn't watch the lecture. You didn't listen. That's all I gotta
Well,
say.
I think what ends up happening is with a lot of these cats that we done have been beating up on for the past 10 years or so. A lot of them don't want to can't deal with the fact that the original populations in these areas were also dark skinned with Africoid type. They can't really deal with that because it kills the whole narrative that these a lot of these white people that you see today are the original people of those areas. They kind of kill it because you already know that the original people, that these people, that fair skin came down from Scandinavia, which is where they found the oldest bones that had the manifestation of white skin. They found it in Scandinavia, as James talked about the Battle Axe culture. You know what I'm saying? And so you see that coming down of the white skin. It's not a, you know what I'm saying? It's not a. And so a lot of people can't accept that because then it kills. It shows that was relatively new to the area, and so a lot of people will probably have a hard time with that because it kills that whole narrative.
Yeah,
Especially
because
people
they're
that
going
don't want
off
to
an
say that.
antiquated. Sorry for cutting your wisdom, but they're going off an antiquated system, a racial system that was set up in the 1800, 1900. So in their mind, everything black is African. That's how they feel. So when you say black, they say, well, they got to be African then. No, every population started off black. That was the point of this lecture. No matter what part of the world or the globe they was on, they were black.
Hey, real quick, man. I posted a link in the chat, man. If anybody want to come on and have any questions or dialogue with any of the brothers on the panel, you can come on. Jashub, this is your show. Black Jesus Ministers in the back chat. Do you want him to come on?
If he can be respectful and actually speak and have a dialogue, no over talk and none of that, I'm not tolerating it.
All right. All right, Black Jesus, we're gonna bring you on.
All right, you on the floor.
Black Jesus Minister, man. What's going on, brother?
What's happening? How y'all feel over here?
We feel
Man,
great. We the source.
good.
All right. Well, look here, and I am the source of the goddamn source. Yeah. Now listen up, bro. Jeremiah, the oldest human remains are not in Mesopotamia, dear brother. The oldest human bones and remains are in the continent of Africa, in Ethiopia, and the oldest hominid bones are found in Morocco. There's no getting around that. Please go to YouTube and watch the scientific documentary called The Journey of Man. And all geneticists all over the world have confirmed that all the human race and the human family evolved out of Africa. and the Bantu Pygmy-Twa, which includes the Khoisan. They're not separate from the Bantu Pygmy-Twa family of people, are the oldest people on the planet. And no, Jashub, I didn't say they wrote the Bible. I don't know why you got that lie from Sarnetta. They did not have writing. They had oral history. So I said that their oral history of the flood story and the creation story of a creator God who created the universe, nature, the animals, and the first male and first female out of clay. That is the story of Genesis, and their oral history is the beginning of the Bible when the Africans learned how to write and then wrote down their oral history. So, brother, please stop lying on Black Jesus Minister, talking about that I said that the Bantu Pygmy-Twa wrote the Bible, bruh. Thank you.
All right, I would like to respond to what he said. First of all, we already crushed the Pygmy-Twa theory thing of them being the oldest because the ghost population predates them. That's one. Secondly, if you're going to claim that these people are responsible for the Bible and the origins of it, then you have to show material evidence. You have to show how it got from the Pygmy-Twas all the way to the Levant, all the way to the original writers of the Bible. You have to show that. In the scientific world, that's how it works. If you have a hypothesis, that will be a hypothesis. You have to perform an experiment or give some kind of observation and empirical data to back up your hypothesis. If the empirical data does not support your hypothesis, then you must throw that hypothesis away. So my question for you, do you have any, because you referenced a YouTube video, give me a scientific paper or something up to date that will correlate with what you're saying about them being responsible for the Bible. The floor is yours.
Brothers and sisters, now, just because a video is on YouTube doesn't discredit the video. That is absolutely absurd. There's educational material, scientific material all over YouTube. So, brother, please stop with that madness, bro. I said to you that this was a scientific, genetic, a documentary that was aired all over the world, sir. An international documentary aired all over the world. Everybody should have seen it. If you have not, it is titled The Journey of Man. The Journey of Man. Now, if you got a problem looking at this science or any type of science on YouTube, then you can go straight to Nova or National Geographic, wherever it is, and you can look at the same damn video on the same damn site on the internet. Doesn't matter, bro. This is scientific genetics, bro. A 10-year study and investigation and research laid out in about a 3-hour video for you guys to see and verify everything that I have just said to prove that Jashub is not schooling you. He's schooling you guys. He's playing over y'all ignorance, bro. Stop it, man. Okay? So again, stop it. All scientists and all over the world and all white people all over the world, bro, say, oh, we all came from Africa. We all hear white people saying that. They didn't want to believe that at first. So that argument is over, brothers. Y'all stop all this African hatred and self-hatred and madness and just understand that this is where we come from. That's where civilization come from. And we have nothing to be ashamed of, but everything to be proud of. Pass the mic.
Okay, let me just say something real quick before Jashub go in. I hear what you're saying on the level, Black Jesus Minister. But as someone who is an intelligent designer myself, I focus on Homo sapiens sapien because that's what I am. I'm a Homo sapiens sapien. So if you want to say other types of archaic humans came out of Africa, I don't think we would disagree with you that that's what the scientific data says. But we're saying us as Homo sapiens sapiens, at that point in time, we fully matured in the Near East, and that is what the scientific data says. It doesn't have anything to do with self-hatred. It's just a matter of fact. So, I mean, I don't see why y'all have to always imply some level of self-hatred when someone just has a different viewpoint than you, especially when their viewpoint is based on empirical data and your viewpoint is not based on any articles or any recent up-to-date information you've read. Is based on YouTube videos.
Right, which takes away from his which takes away from his credence because you're just citing a video You're not telling us,
Lord have
okay,
mercy.
this is the article they quoted. This is the guy who headed the research, who put the article together. I'm doing that in my presentation. You have to do that as well. You have to be intellectually responsible with this instead of just throwing stuff out there and hoping it sticks. Now, to address the Africa thing, that has nothing to do with my presentation at all. My presentation was just to show people that the first populations of humans were all dark skinned. That's it. I don't know where you're getting a hatred for Africa from. I don't know how you got that from this presentation. That was not a theme. I did not talk about that. Again, if you do not produce any evidence for your own claims, that's on you. I am giving evidence for everyone who's watching this show to go home and be able to research and validate each claim. You just tell them to watch a YouTube video is not telling them anything. You understand? And again, ghost lineages go way before the Khoisan and the Pygmy Twa people. So that's done. That's done. You have the floor.
Brothers, if y'all want to sit up here and be lollipop suckified, you know what I'm saying, and continue to swallow this dumbassiness and continue, oh, you keep referring to a video, you keep referring to a video. Bro, all of the scientific references and all the damn scientists, you will see them, and the geneticists and scientists are there on the video. It's not just a video. This was a documentary, a scientific documentary that aired on National Geographic and Nova, all over the United States, all over the world. And these were geneticists all over the world who collaborated on that project, which took 10 years for them to conclude. So stop sitting up here being suckers, bro, and just bold-faced liars. Stop it, man. The oldest bones, sir, are not found in Mesopotamia, brother. Stop all this madness. The oldest Homo sapien bones, to the brother who was talking about Homo sapiens, is in Ethiopia, bruh. The whole world knows that. How you don't know that? Then you gonna sit up here and talk about scientific evidence and research and all that kind of stuff, brother. Stop it, man. Y'all embarrassing y'allself over here, bro. Now,
Hey, check this out.
When
Check
did
this
hold on,
out.
I'm almost done, bro. I'm almost done. I'm gonna shut up. Now, now, Jashub, since we're having this conversation, bro. Are you still lying to the people, brother, and saying that Esau is the beginning of the
I don't
progenitor
want to talk about
of the
that.
white
I
race?
don't want to talk about that.
All right, brother, I wasn't talking to you. Your name is not Jashub, bro.
All right, so let me deal with what you said. First of all, that was a loaded question. You said, "Are you still lying?" No, brother, I never lied. Secondly, I want to deal with what you was bringing out prior. Just saying a video is not giving us source material.
Yeah. Okay, let me just go ahead and post it in the
Hold on,
chat for y'all.
stop.
Playing games.
Stop. Brother, this not your show, man. You don't got to be here. Now, to address what you just said, why are we getting on you about telling us to go to a YouTube video? Because as a scholar, you should be able to cite what you're getting this information from so we can go look at the article and read it. That's it. How old is the article? That plays a major role, because if it's outdated information, you got to update your information, because the latest information says archaic ghost population existed prior to those populations that you're talking about. All right, so give us a source, man. Source up or shut up. This is a source. We in the source right now. This is not a rhetoric house. You do not just come over here and spew rhetoric. We're going to hold you to a citation. So, brother, you got a minute to give us a citation, post it and read from it, or this little dissertation we having is going to end. Now, go ahead. You're on.
Brothers and sisters, I'm posting the video link right now. It's 2 hours video. All the scientific information and citations. You go straight to the internet and type in Journey of Man. And I believe that there is a book, a companion book, if you want to read that, with all of the scientific references and citations that y'all want to read. This is a legitimate international scientific collaboration of geneticists all over the world who completed this scientific documentary, Stop the Madness, and I'm posting the link for y'all right now.
All right, so he's not going to cite the source. Jeremiah, you know what you got to do, bro. He didn't cite a source. You just told us go to YouTube. Jeremiah, Please remove him from here. This is source up or shut up. We on the source. We not in that other league or whatever association you've been in where you can just spew rhetoric, throw stuff out there and hope it stick. So Jeremiah, remove this brother from my show, man. Thank you. Thank you. If you can remove that brother, get him out of here. I asked him kindly to cite a source and read from it, and the brother still hasn't. We put our source back there about the ghost DNA in the West African origins. It was provided by James. You can go to the NPR. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Jeremiah. There's no point in playing with him. We asked him a simple question. He wants to come on here and pontificate. We're just supposed to believe him. We don't do that here at the source.
He's Black Jesus. He's Black Jesus Minister. You're supposed to believe him.
Yeah, you're just supposed to believe him because he said it.
Yeah.
I asked the brother to cite an up-to-date article and read from the article. I don't want to watch it. We're in the middle of a live. Watching a YouTube video, doing the hard work for you, for your belief? No, that's not going to happen. Just as I made the stencil in the template today. That's how you do scholarship.
Yep. Demonstration beat conversation. That's all we're going to say. Demonstrate. You demonstrated something. You brought out sources and you stick it. It's all him down to refute it with the same type of academia scholarship. He don't want to do that. He want to give us videos. You know what I'm saying? I ain't watching no 2-hour videos. I'm putting it like that. I know how to demonstrate my own self.
The brother wasn't knocking him for getting information off a video. What he was saying is, if you're gonna cite something, then you have to, when you watch the video, you have to write down the information or put it somewhere so you can cite it. Not just tell somebody to go watch a 3-hour video. That's not going to work, man.
Right. And he came in here with.
I think that.
Go ahead, Damon.
Go ahead, bro. No, I just think that I don't really think that the brother really understand. That's why I'm glad Jeremiah said what he said. That's what I just put to say. I think he don't understand. Like, yes, telling people to watch the video. He's not giving us a time marker. He's not giving us the who it was who made whatever claim that he's making. And I think that when some brother in the chat asks, update some information, all information got to be updated. I mean, that's the whole point of science. When you say that you're a person that is a fan of science or somebody that likes to research, you always got to at least privy to the latest information that's come out on whatever particular subject. Because what they may subscribe to 10 years ago, they may not subscribe to now. So you got to stay up to date with what's going on. You know, so subscribe to different scientific journals. You got to subscribe to different scientific magazines. You got to pay for that. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that a lot of times people are not really understanding what methodology is. But I think that we've all talked in the back, and I think some of the brothers are going to do a job of breaking down how to do research, because I think what's lacking in our community is we really don't know how to do research. And so because we don't know how to do research, we don't really know how to vet sources, how to make sure we cite sources, how to decipher what source is credible and what's not. It's like we got a lot of work to do in the community as far as teaching people in our community how to actually do research, and that's really what's lacking. You know what I mean? You can't cherry pick research. You can't do a bias scholarship. That's the first thing you got to take in consideration in research methodology is your own bias. So I think as in the so-called Black conscious community, we don't do that at all. We don't consider our own bias in our research at all. And so I just think that we just got to deal with that in the community right now.
Yeah, so I have posted on the screen. This is Black Jesus source. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video. It's an hour and 58 minutes long.
Here's my source, brother. I didn't write any notes down, and I don't even know who headed the research, I don't even know the name of any other scientist that was partaking in it or their premises. But here's my video. Watch the video. Come on, man.
I think his point was pretty much that the earliest hominids and stuff come up out of Africa, so therefore everyone genetically descends out of Africa, according to science, which is true. No one's saying that's not true. But again, your presentation wasn't even about that.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean?
And he said Homo sapien. We're talking about Homo sapien sapien. When you go into the
well, he called Lucy a Homo sapien. I thought she was the first hominid. I mean, I didn't know she had risen to the level of Homo sapien.
Yeah,
right.
she's the first upright bipedal species.
I thought she
and
was
that's questionable at this
Australopithecus.
particular.
Thought she
Hey, how
was
you
Yeah,
doing? Ed?
that's why I said that's why I said her being a biped is even questionable. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
Charles Oxnard and several other people have questioned that she was an actual biped. So, I mean, it's just like I said, but that's not even the point. The point is she ain't no Homo sapien sapien.
Yeah, she's not no
That's the
Homo
point.
sapien.
You
She was an Australian. She was
know what I'm
Australopithecus.
saying?
She was an
So,
Australopithecus. So
right.
so
We're dealing
yeah.
with
So it's like
Yeah.
who is calling me?
go ahead.
Right, go ahead. Go
My
ahead.
bad.
No, you good. You good, bro.
I was just saying that we weren't even like James and them said he went. I think he just carried over that day little issue after the debate and kind of brought that in because his point was to show that not only because we are like it's called the understood you in the sentence. Like I shouldn't have in certain sentences you don't have to say you because the you is understood. We all understand that Africa, Africa's role in human development. We all understand nobody's that's not even an issue. But his thing was like his presentation was basically to show that it was those type of people, maybe not be the exact people, but those type of people, meaning people with dark skin, some called black people, but everywhere. That was the whole point, not just in Africa, but we were everywhere. And the indigenous populations of these different areas, all these people were black, quote unquote. So that was
Right.
the whole point. His point was not Africa was not the
The focal
focus
point. Right.
of his presentation. So I don't even understand why he brought that up.
You know, haters gonna hate and throw salt when they can throw salt, man. But you got to let your haters be your marketing team. Let them work. So that's all. That's all it is on that, man. We here to teach and educate and elevate the community. They here to, muddy the waters. So it is what it is. And he
Yeah, man.
clearly
So I placed the video on the screen. I showed you the actual YouTube name on the screen. So we're not afraid of any counter information that could be out there. We're just saying we're standing on the information and the research that we have.
right. And the brother doesn't even understand morphology and understand anatomically modern anatomically humans, right? He don't even understand that because he's talking about Lucy when Lucy's a southern ape, Australopithecus. From my studies, not even a modern human, and we're not even dealing with. She's not even Homo sapien. She's not even a Homo sapien sapien. You deal with Homo sapien sapiens later in the evolutionary tree. He doesn't even understand how to distinguish that. That lets me know what level that he's on. He's not even on the level to have this conversation, and that's why he will not cite a source and read from it and disseminate the information that way. He would rather just spew rhetoric and how he gets. He yells and does his Black Jesus minister clown thing, instead of really dealing with information. And we're not gonna deal with that over here because we the source. It's in our name. Show me the source. That's it. Source up or shut up. Sourced up click, man. Sourced up and sourced out. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Hey, y'all know how it is. You know how we get down over
Know
here.
what I'm talking about?
Know
Yeah.
what I'm hey, Listen, we putting in this work and this pain, and you know, I might like we was talking about prior to the show, we might do a lecture touching on these different topics that came up because that's the point. Point is to bring more information to the source, spread it, and let the people decide themselves by their own studies. I don't want y'all just watching this. Write this stuff down and try to, you know, build your own models and go into the information yourself, man. You know, I'm not just here to preach at you. I'm hoping.
And bring us that smoke too. Bring us that smoke. We asking for it.
Anybody want to debate that? Hold on, let me say this. Let me clarify something. Anybody that wants to debate that's not a loudmouth clown that just want to throw hate and throw salt because they have no real information and their channel averages 13 views. Hint, hint. I'll debate you. You just come up. You can go to Jeremiah and put your request in at the source on Yah World 777 MYMG on Facebook, and we can make that happen. We can make that happen. Get in the ring and let's see what y'all about, man. Because we gladiators around here. Like I said, I am confident in my cohorts, the people that are in this tournament, the people that are on our roster. I am confident that no other league can match our talent. Period.
That's right.
You can't match King Seth, James, Yashar, Dunn, nor myself. And we taking all challenges that ain't a loser. You know what I'm saying? Hey, well, I'm excluding the habitual losers.
That's fucked up.
All right, man. Anything you brothers want to add to the discussion, or what we can do better, improve it, or whatever? You know, what y'all would like to see next? I can do a lecture on anatomical humans.
Say this though: if enough people want to challenge Jashub on the information we have been talking in the background, and think it'd be a good idea, we might have to sit that boy in the hot seat. You know,
let's do it.
Let him come try to take his head off.
Let's do it.
We want the bully head. We want the scholastic bully head. We going for it. Want his head.
What these brothers are talking about in the background, we've been talking about having what we call the dojo, right? Well, one brother would come in with his doctrine, and like 8 brothers will be in a panel, and they all beating up on his doctrine, and he got to defend himself from 8 different people. So we got content. We curating content over here at the source. We trying to bring forth new programs. We trying to do stuff different. Like today was an open discussion presentation. I don't think I ever seen that. Maybe it's out there, but I wanted to bring something new to the table, something, a breath of fresh air, bro. So our people can, you know what I'm saying, have more content than what we've been accustomed to seeing. So yeah, the dojo will be fire. I decided to be the sacrificial lamb. Be the crash test dummy. I'll be the first one to do it. You know, brothers can come in, beat up on whatever doctrine you want to beat up on, whatever you think that. Hey,
I already know what I want to attack, bro. I already know what I want to attack, brother.
Hey, bring it on, man. You know, I ain't backing down. You know what I'm saying? It's only a few select people that I exclude from challenging me. You know. But
yeah, man, you got to defend that Hinduism reincarnation madness, brother.
You want?
Oh man, hey, y'all gotta go.
Get him, y'all. Get him, y'all. Get him.
That's gonna be
It ain't okay that you believe that, brother.
Hey, that's gonna be a 5-minute video. Cause y'all gonna beat up on me. I'm be like, okay, it's a belief. And then we're gonna end that's gonna be a short episode.
Hey, that's how you kill that, Jashub.
Yeah.
I accept that. I just believe it. I can't prove it, bro.
I can't prove or disprove it, bro. It's unfalsifiable. I'm gonna let you have it.
Yeah, well.
Hey, yeah, that's how you got to do it, man. You can't always argue every belief you have. Sometimes you just got to admit it. Look, I just believe it, bro.
That's it.
Right. Yeah, man. But I'm super excited, man, for the direction that we're going with this thing, man. More work coming your way, family. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you sharing the video. We appreciate you hitting the like button, right? As we continue to work diligently to bring forth content on a scholarly level, right? With what? With sources. Why? Because we are the source. Sourced up click. You know what I'm talking about, mine?
Already.
Well, with that being said, man, I guess we up out of here, man. Right? My last closing words. Source up, Shut up.